Hello everybody, let me introduce myself. My name is Dale Caston, and I felt led to come on here and speak with you guys today about something I've just been led to talk to you about. So I've been through a crazy journey in my life. Um, this story starts off with failed marriage, failed raising kids. I've failed numerous relationships. I have failed at jobs. I've failed businesses I've started. I have failed, my goodness, everything you could think of in life. I've messed it up, and I promise you, I messed it up, and I messed it up good. Been through a lot of heavy drinking in my past, some heavy drug use in my past. But you know, at a point, I made a decision in my life where I didn't want that to define me. My path wasn't going to be defined by my failures. It was going to be defined by the decisions I made whenever I started to get my mind right. And so in 2013, I was taking a class, an online philosophy class for a friend of mine. She didn't want to do it, so I did it for her. And I learned a lot. It was very interesting. And during that course, I got to really realizing, like, you know, I've never traveled. I've never seen the world. I've never seen mountains. I've never seen the ocean. My goodness, I wanted to see that stuff. You know, in 2013, I was 33 years old. I was going to be 34 in just a few months. And I was not okay with not seeing those things and figuring out who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I said, I failed at everything I ever tried. And I wasn't okay with that now. You know, I needed to make a change. I needed to make a difference in my life. And so I made a decision. I made a decision that I was gonna walk across the country. And so I did. I walked across the country. I started preparing for it. And before I left, my best friend, me and him had a conversation about it. And he asked me, I mean, this is not going to be a direct quote, but you'll get the point. He asked me, he says, you know, Dale, people train for like a year or more to do this. Have you done any training? And my reply was like, well, it's just walking. You know, how hard can that be? I've been doing it since I was 8 months old. You know, how hard can it be? And let me tell you, that was naive, because sometimes taking one step at a time, it's not easy. It's not easy to do that. It's challenging. It's difficult. It sounds real easy. Walking sounds real easy. It really does. Like I said, most of us have been doing it since we were a year or more. Most of us, you know, if we're fortunate enough. But me having the confidence that I did and naivety that I did, I decided, you know, I was going to walk across the country. I was going to fix those failures in my life, and I was going to make a difference in my life and try to figure out, you know, who I was, how I was going to move forward with my life. And so I made the decision, and I did it. I did it. I really made the decision, and I decided I was going to do it. And so I flew out to the East Coast, to Delaware, and I started walking across the country in April of 2014. And so doing that, I want to start this. So I have a few things here I want to talk to you about. One of them is finding your path. Finding your path. You know, me walking across the country, that was my path. That was my journey. It's probably not your journey, and that's okay. Maybe you have a dream to start a business. Maybe you had a dream to ask that girl out that you've been wanting to ask out, or that guy you've been wanting to ask out. Maybe you have a goal to, you know, my path was my path, your path is your path. And honestly, that's something that you're gonna have to figure out for yourself. You know, nobody's gonna show you your own path. It's something you have to figure out. You know, what are you passionate about? What is something that you dream about doing? You know, I don't know. Do you want to be an actor? Then you're going to have to figure out that path and figure out the steps to become that actor. And something I learned on that is figuring out your path is sometimes you just have to start. You know, I really want to motivate you people. I want to motivate everybody. I love it. I love sparking a fire in people's lives. I love that. And you know what? I don't know how to do it. But I know what I can do is I can take one step and I can borrow a camera. I can make a video. I can make myself vulnerable and expose myself to you, the world, whoever's watching this. I can take that first step, make this video, and start chasing that dream that I've had for all these years since I walked across the country. I've had that dream and I've never taken that first step. Well, today I'm telling you what, I'm taking the first step. So on that journey across the country, I want to tell you a little story, and it's about starting your own path, finding your own path and starting your own journey. So when I first started, I was on the American Discovery Trail. It's a really cool trail. If you don't know what it is, it's a network of trails that goes from the coast of Delaware, Rehoboth Beach, all the way to Point Reyes National Seashore, just north of San Francisco. Now I started on that path, but the mileage was like 5,000 miles. Well, you know what? I didn't want to walk 5,000 miles. I was in Virginia and I'd already walked a few hundred miles and decided, you know what? I'm not taking that path. I'm going to take my own path. I'm going to make my own route. And you know what I did? I did make my own route. And if I would have stayed on everybody else's path, if I would have stayed on that trail, then I may not would have accomplished my main goal, which was to walk across the country. So what I did is I started my own path. I did my own thing. And I didn't want to take all the time, which brings me to the next thing I want to talk to you about, is time. I'll be honest with you. You don't have enough of it. I'll repeat that for you. You don't have enough time. The funny thing about time is, if you have a goal, if you have something you want to accomplish, the longer you wait to start, the harder it's going to get. The harder it's going to get. Don't let time sneak up on you at the end of your life and realizing that if you would have just started it, if you would have just not let yourself run out of time, you might have accomplished those goals you wanted to accomplish. You don't have enough time. I can take the year of 2014 and walk across the country. I didn't make any money that year, very little, but I know I can make money when I'm done, but I will never have enough time. If I would have waited and waited and waited, the older you get, the harder things get to do and get to accomplish. So it's another thing is, don't waste time. Don't waste time on self-doubt. Self-doubt's the next thing I want to get into. It's kind of interesting. Self-doubt to me is whenever you want more and you're not doing anything about it. Let that sink in for a second. Self-doubt is you haven't started because you're doubting yourself, because you're scared, because you're going to think, what if people make fun of me? Oh, I'm sure I'm going to post this video on YouTube. I'm going to get some comments. Like, what? And this guy staggering over his words. Oh man, don't let self-doubt and your fear stop you from starting your dreams. You're running out of time. Start chasing them. Something that's really interesting about walking across the country is, if I would have listened to people, if I would have listened to my self-doubt, before that I'd never seen mountains before. Had no idea. Never seen mountains, never seen oceans. if I would have let my self-doubt creep in and stop me from chasing that goal, and I never would have seen those mountains. And let me tell you, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. But I wouldn't have been able to see that if I'd have let self-doubt get into me. It's funny how self-doubt, it really makes you not feel valuable to yourself, to others, to the world. And something about taking that first step. As soon as you take that first step, this self-doubt starts going away. It really will. It starts going away. The more steps you take, the more it goes away. The closer you get to your goal and your dreams, you realize, oh wow, self-doubt, why not let it stop me for so long? And you got to take away that self-doubt. You got to do it for you. You got to do it for your family. You got to do it for your community, for the world. We're all dependent on you. So eliminate that self-doubt and move forward with your life. Here's a story about self-doubt. So in Illinois, I was it's getting kind of close to dark, almost like it is now. And I'd slept in a lot of people's front yards. I would knock on the door and tell them what I'm doing, and a lot of people were like, "Oh yeah, man, set your tent up, absolutely, absolutely." And so I got pretty used and comfortable to that. And I ran into a situation in Illinois where I knocked on somebody's door, and at that point I hadn't shaved for a couple months. I was looking pretty rough. I was pushing a jogging stroller full of, actually I didn't even have a jogging stroller at that point. I'll tell that story another time. So I had this backpack full of stuff, and I looked homeless. I looked like a transient. I just looked rough, And so they said, "Nah, man, nah, not setting that tent up in my yard." And so I said, "Okay, thank you for your time." And I kept walking. Well, as soon as I walked away from their house, they came out of their house, got in their car, and went to the neighbor's yard. Well, they drove down to the neighbor's house too, and told the neighbors, like, "Hey, there's this guy coming." I don't know what he told them. I don't know what they told him. I wasn't there for it. But when I got to the neighbor's house to knock and see if I could sleep in their yard, nope, absolutely not. You got to keep going. Well, they went down a few more houses, told a few more neighbors. So I let that self-doubt creep in, like, oh man, I don't know where I'm gonna sleep tonight. Don't have a clue. But I kept going. I took away that self-doubt. I kept going, one step at a time, and I eventually got to this really nice people's house. I told them what I was doing. Told them about me walking across the country to figure out who I am, get over all those past mistakes, past failures. And I was also doing it to get donations for a disaster relief charity called All Hands. And I started telling them all this story, and they were happy to meet me, and I was happy to meet them. They turned out to be the nicest people. But if I would have let self-doubt creep in, there's no telling what I would have done. I might have walked through the night. I might have slept in a field or slept in the woods. Who knows what had happened? But I didn't let self-doubt get me down. I kept going. I kept walking through it. I did it one step at a time. Something else, I told you about failures earlier. So, I told you about failures. Failures, from now on, will not stop me from trying again, and again. I have been knocked down more times than I care to admit. From relationships to jobs to man, you name it, I failed at it. But you know what? I never let it get me down. I didn't let it keep me down. I didn't wallow in it. I kept getting up. And you know what? I'm gonna fail again. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get back up. Trust me, if I can get back up, you can get back up. Just look at the failure as it's a bump in the road. It's not the end of the road. Don't let a failure become the end of your road. You've got a lot of life to live. So I failed at one point walking across the country, I was following the maps on the phone, and it told me to go down this road and then take this other little county road, and I'll keep on going on my path. So I get to where I'm supposed to take the turn, and this road turns out is as an old creek bed that hadn't been a road for 20 years. Well, that was a failure. That was a failure for sure. Not necessarily my fault, but so I saw a nursery up the way a little bit. So I kept going, and I got to the nursery, and I asked the guy, so, hey, you know, what's to do with this map? You know, what's up with this? He goes, oh man, that hadn't been a road for 20 years. They took that away 20 years ago. I was like, what? Wait, what? That put me 11 miles off track. And I don't know if you've walked 11 miles off track, but let me tell you, that's no short distance. However, did I let that stop me? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. See, I had plans. I have a cousin that lives out there in Virginia, and she was going to drive out and see me the next day. So I had to backtrack 11 miles, and I did. And yeah, I had to walk into the night to get to my destination, but I didn't let it stop me. I got to my destination a few hours later, and I got to see my cousin the next day. It was wonderful. The point of the story is I didn't let that failure stop me from continuing on my journey. So don't let failure stop you from your journey. My last story, my last thing I want to touch on today is I don't want you to let whatever current situation you're in define your life. I told you a little bit about me, a lot of failures, failed relationships, but you know what? I did not let those situations determine my life, and I never will. I'm going to keep going. So a story I have, this is the last story I'll tell you, and I'll let you go, but I'll tell you a story about a situation I had when I first started my journey in Delaware. My goodness, I was 4 days in to an 8.5 month journey, and so day one I felt good. You know, I've walked before. You know, I've done that before. I had warehouse jobs. I've walked, and so the first day I felt good. I walked 20 miles. I get back to the host house, and the next day I kept walking. I said, man, I got maybe 13 miles. Started feeling pretty bad. Legs started hurting pretty good. I don't know if you've ever had sore knees, but let me tell you, buddy. Oh, day three. I had to get to a campsite 7 miles away. 7 miles away. So I walked the 7 miles, and my God, I have never hurt so bad in my life. It was bad. It was really bad. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I couldn't pick my legs up. I could barely bend my knees. My feet were sore. Everything hurt. But I knew if I could wake up the next day, my next stop was 4 miles away. So I did. I got up, got my stuff together, put all my pack together, and I walked the rest of the 4 miles to Mr. Apsher's house in Delaware. It was known for hosting hikers that were on the American Discovery Trail. So I made it to Mac's house, and when I got to Mac's, he graciously let me sleep in his camper in his front yard. And there was 3 steps to get up into the camper, and I could not get up those steps under my own power. I had to use a stick on one side, and I had to use the handle on the other side and pull myself in to that camper. And I remember laying there thinking, man, this is 40 miles. This is 40 miles of an almost 4,000 mile journey. It turned out being 3,700 miles, give or take a few 10 or so. Turned out to be 3,700 miles, but I was 40 miles into a 3,700 mile journey, which means I had 3,660 more miles to go. And I'm struggling after 40 miles. Man, how in the hell am I gonna be able to continue on? Well, Matt graciously let me stay there for a few days, and next evening I started feeling a little bit better. The next day I felt a little bit better, and by the time he let me stay there for 4 days, I needed a rest. I needed a break. I wasn't used to that, but he let me rest, and after about 4 days I was able to continue on my journey. And the point of the story is I didn't let my situation of not being able to walk keep me from my journey and my goal. And that's kind of what I want this whole thing to be about, is I want to encourage you, motivate you to don't let your current situations stop you from making that first step. I'll be honest with you guys, we're all counting on you. We need you. Your family needs you. Take that first step, man. Take that first step. Do it one step at a time, and you're going to surprise yourself. You're really going to surprise yourself with all the dreams and stuff that you think that you can accomplish. Just watch. Have some faith. Take the step. Till next time.